Someone that can speak to his impact in the community and how well he's built a community surrounding his coffee shop.
Yeah, and you know, that's the thing I also see too, you being an activist right now too, especially what's going on with Palestine and everything. You know, we don't try to talk too much politics, but I do see you do have a strong voice, and I appreciate that. And
I mean, it's at the end of the day, it comes down to a lot of people miss the whole idea because of what other people have done wrong. But people in our past, there was a point when people lived amongst each other civilized, you know. And at the end of the day, if you can't take somebody else's opinion and you want one person to have an opinion and you can't hear another person's opinion, you're controlling another person regardless of how it goes.
Yeah.
That's not freedom. And every person who's around knows whether it's right or not, or whether the conflict is right or not, we never pick the big guy's side.
Yes.
Because we're the big guy.
Yes.
And so it's just like, you know, I come from a war-torn nation. Like, my dad's Japanese. Hence the Miyazaki, right?
Yes. So you're Japanese American? Or?
Yeah, first blood, first gen. Dad's as I call him. Yeah, he's from the motherland.
Yeah, from Japan.
Yeah, Imperial Bloodline.
Yeah,
it's,
for sure.
It's very rare for me to be here, and it's like one of those things where, like, I'm amongst a lot of Americans, but I hear a lot of stuff a lot of times, and I'm like, my dad's an immigrant, you know?
Yeah.
And then I hear a lot of other stuff where people like, white people, and I'm like, my mom's white. And then I was raised in a lot of different communities, so I have an understanding of people, I guess, but the thing is people make me sad.
Yeah.
That's why I do coffee.
Especially,
right?
I mean, right now where the world's at too, there's a lot of sad things going on. So I could feel that, you know, you could be affected by other decisions or other things you see going on.
You shouldn't really be sad if you're here.
Yeah, no, honestly.
Like, you should be productive and just know that there are people out there that got it 1,000 times worse in a million different ways. But at the end of the day, like, community is something that is super important. So a lot of the shops and the projects that I've done, a lot of people know that they understand how it goes with having support, because the reality of life is what? It's lonely. It's super lonely.
Yeah.
So even if, you know, say you go through your life and you get to a certain point and you find a community place, a coffee shop, a bike ride, something that's structured within other people from a culture, you're going to have more people, you know what I mean, come together, and you don't feel so lonely. And a lot of people don't understand that,
and that's even part two with this radio show I'm doing. It's like, it's not even like trying to fill a hole. It's like, here we can all come together in a community aspect and not feel lonely, because we can even touch on real life topics, you know, and you know, it just kind of, it's just a good way to, you know, be able to at least communicate, because when you feel lonely about something.
There's a lot of lonely people out there, and I tell everybody, if you wake up, just smile, because at the end of the day, you're going to be 60, and I'm not saying 60 is old, because I'm 42, and like a lot of these kids still be coming around like, you know, like, what's up, Pops? And I'm like,
oh, Pops, are you, but they're calling you Pops for a reason, or did they see, like...
No, I've been there a long time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Everything
I've
made, I gave back to everybody in downtown, like, they know.
Yeah.
Downtown has a very, very underground, large community of, like, people who...
I'm finding that out.
Yeah, who stayed, and if they didn't stay, they commute there every day to play and make money.
I haven't been here long. I've only lived here for 3 years, and one of the... I wouldn't say the first, but it was like I didn't even feel right doing it, but I had a friend come down not too long ago. He's from up north in Humboldt. Never been down here. He's like, take me to Hollywood. I'm like, dude, it's nothing really pretty, but all right. He's like, but then let's drive through downtown first. I'm like, oh, okay. You know what? Let's do this to him.
Yeah.
So I remember, though, when I went there, for me, when in terms of the underground scene, you can just even see, like, what the media does for LA. And this is just my perspective of it. They picture it as this pop star, you know, glamour, you know, fame, this, that. But if you're actually living here with Angelinos, and you're going, saying you're getting coffee at No Ghost Bears, or you're walking through Sunset or the Arts District, or even taking a walk down Figueroa, you don't see that, you know? And so for me, it's like, I brought him over there, and, you know, we're greeted by people doing wheelies on motorcycles on Sunset. He's like, well, where's the Walk of Fame? And I'm like, bro, like, just get that perspective, you know. You got to understand that you got to live some life to see what life is, you know. That's a very, you know, like, very dull. So for me, I could see, I was like, okay, I'm starting to understand This.
Oh, you want to see Kawanga? Is that what you want to see?
Yeah, like you want to see something weird? Let's go to Ranger on the Hill still 3. Like I got you. Like let's
Hollywood life isn't walking down the strip when they come here.
Yeah, and that's the thing too for me where I realized that I was like my friend where I thought that, And even with this show too, we've only had a few episodes, but from our couple guests, it's just I always been like, oh man, it's like all right, we're doing this. Like,
adventure, right? Living.
Yeah, and that's great too because it also builds connection too because it makes me have more compassion for this city.
The city is city's a very, very
and even my
place.
pops too. Shout out my dad. He just had a birthday too. Happy birthday, Dad! If you are listening, got to shout out pops right there.
Yeah.
But my dad being from San Francisco, he did his best to teach me everything. But now down here too, even my dad has told me, he's like, bro, you're in LA. Everything starts in LA. The first Supercross motocross was here in the 70s. And that's where it's motocross. This is LA, you think movie, music. That's where, just to make your mind understand, like, things start here, and this is where a lot of culture lives,
I see them come into downtown, and I see the vultures and the hawks.
Yeah, definitely.
And they walk around the fashion district. But this is the thing, is like, this is a beautiful part about this city, and something that I try to tell a lot of people and hope that it goes out to and hits them in a different way, which is, those people make it. Because they take whatever they see here and they go back to their small town of a couple 100,000, maybe 1 million, and they do what you do, and the people look at it and they buy it, and then they get to where you want it to be.
It's all how you market it.
Exactly, because they're thirsty, right?
Yes.
Here, we ain't thirsty. We got sun, good weed, we outside, everybody's happy, nobody's ever fighting. And if they are fighting, it's over trivial things that are minuscule.
But it's almost like too. I feel like a lot of the times when people fight in that aspect, it's almost like some kind of petty. It's almost not petty, but it's like they want their voice to be heard, but they're not putting their energy towards the right.
Because the
thing.
city's got a lot of problems, right?
Oh yeah.
And so it's like.
I mean, look at San Francisco. I mean, I'm from the Bay Area. Like I can.
Okay, so Bipping something that's happened in the Bay, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's busting in cars and taking stuff. So there's a reason why it all happened, and there's a problem in a lot of the cities, and the kids that were boys at age 18, 17 or whatever, they got locked up for 3 years. When they came out of being essential workers and people ask what they have for job experience, they say, oh, it was essential for 3 years. And then they don't get hired. Can you get unemployment when you're on Uber? No. So now you have a bunch of kids for 3 years that were locked up that are super, super, super mad and sad. They didn't get the guff, born like some of us. Like, when I was 18, and some of the dudes I know 18, 16, 15, I know hustlers that were 12, and they was like, I'm going to get it, I'm going to come out the gate, I'm going to stack up, the world's mine, everybody in my way is going down. And you took that steam from a lot of people. And I'm not saying that the other half of the females weren't, represented for it, but a lot of people went in different directions. Some people went home, some people went to the internet, It was a valuable time for a lot of people to see decisions that affected young men in different cities.
Yeah.
And now they're robbing people, so we really have to think about
that's the biggest thing. I know it's not, I wouldn't say, well, this is real life. You say robbing people, right?
Well, that's what they do. Yeah,
well, and that's what I dread the most about LA. That's what I was always told. You be walking down the street, and if you go and you don't check in and all this and that, but it's it's just
LA people are polite down here.
That's what I'm saying. With this, it's we're gonna learn that real representation because it's if you're not from here, you don't know what it's about.
You're not. It's not to toss the bay because everybody knows. I spent time in a certain amount of places up there. It's just, and it's not to toss LA. It's the environments are completely different, right?
Yeah.
The thing is that in the Bay, the people are not tolerating what has been done to them and they're taking. Because there's no future for them once they've been 18 to 23 and everything.
And I 100% agree with you there.
Down here, there's a mentality where you see a future because you see it. You see people outside hustling, you see people getting it, people going to work, everybody lovey-dovey in this world that exists that you could be at the top. So the nightmare is not so bad, and you have a lot of joint collective communities such as the park where people show up for certain things.
And we'll definitely tap into here in a second.
Yeah, you don't have that. And you don't have, Oakland is getting gentrified so fast that the blink happened and it already happened. And people are like, no. And I'm like, it was different in the 80s and 90s.
Oh yeah,
And
it was.
I'm not saying it should be that, but like you have to leave things to a specific point, and you have to understand that cultures have to exist. We are people. We're not like
Yeah,
a race,
and,
right?
and I can agree
So-
with you there, because the Bay is very keen and
Yeah.
held tight to what we represent,
Yeah.
especially too with the whole hyphy movement. You know, Mac Dre and everything like that. Like we're
Leo,
yeah, Vallejo. I'm from the 707, so you know, we'll rep it.
Town vibes.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
all day.
It's a
Say it backwards, you know.
Yeah,
and-
everybody. It's like nowadays. It's like Santa Rosa's become this gatekeeper.
I was
town.
born in Santa Rosa.
Yeah, it's a gatekeeper town. It's like if you want to get anywhere in the industries of like,
you got to get past Rosa.
yeah, you have to get somebody in there who is like willing to be able to be generous to work with you, because
It's hard, trust me.
Yeah.
Me and my dad, especially like where I grew up, outside of Santa Rosa, Mendocino, Humboldt County, you know, we'd have a lot of outsiders, especially a lot of foreigners.
yeah,
That was the thing I loved and I remember the most. Summertime was my favorite part.
Bags.
Was we'd have people from Sweden, Switzerland,
you know,
Spain, Paris,
they
France.
come to Sonoma County,
And they would
find
come
their
and
way
then they
somewhere
dwindle
else.
their way out to Bodega Bay and find their way up to, you know, Mendocino and Humboldt and be like, hey,
I got a cabin out there with Bodega Bay, a place called
oh, so you're
called-
familiar with
called
Bodega Bay.
called Cazadero.
Oh,
Yeah, so like.
Myers Grade Road?
Yeah, I tell people all the time, like,
Oh!
find out about some real shit. You
Oh,
can disappear in the
you know,
country
right
real
now,
quick.
that right now, Dad, if you are listening,
Yeah.
homie knows about Myers Grade. That's the
Yeah.
thing, the beautiful thing about where I grew up, and honestly, the fact that you know where Myers Grade Road is because that is like a little kind of, see, we have a lot of tourists where we're from.
There's
And
a
they're-
lot of creek beds out there too. I tell people, I'm like, you fall into a creek, it's not too pretty, and they're like,
Wow, the
oh,
fact that
yeah.
fourth guest on this show, that means a lot. The fact that you just dropped Cazadero,
Oh no, the place.
that is awesome though, bro. That's a very, very beautiful place. And two, like every time, see, where I grew up too, we would have to go to Santa Rosa to get supplies. Like if you needed to make, you know, like
You
a
gotta make a
shopping
run.
trip or a run, exactly, you'd
Yeah.
have to go to Santa Rosa. So it wasn't like when we would leave where we lived, it was like a treat kind of out of town, you know? And so when we would come back, we'd enjoy it, prolong it. You take that back road. And we'd always, instead of going Highway 1 through
Yeah.
Jenner, go Little Myers Grade. But, you know, to the listeners out there, you know, if you're not familiar with it, it's just a very beautiful scenic part of upper northern Sonoma County, kind of crestled up there by Jenner. But
For all of you Netflix goers, which is 90% of you on the population of America, whatever. it is.
Murder Mountain reference?
Yeah,
or?
Murder Mountain's a great one. Nice and times out there. But the most devious places, Bohemian Grove, and
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Well,
you have to drive by.
that's a whole nother conversation
Yeah.
we're actually now going to take out when we get a little something to drink after.
Yeah.
You just said that. I'm working on a song with some great lyricism tied to that. But anyhow, wow, Bohemian
the
Grove.
family towns. I mean, it's a
Well,
thing,
you know
it's
what
like-
I'll share here? What if I said this is that same road, my family, my father, his whole uncle, dad, he used to have a cabin out there
Yeah.
that he used to go to on that same road right down the street, in that same area, family cabin. And I
Russian
remember
River.
when I used to go, the Flushing Russian, as my dad would call it, when we would go down there, he would always make it a point. He's a very, I love my dad. He's a very, how do I say it? Memories like that, like anybody, it just holds a lot of value. And that's something he taught me too, is like, don't forget
Humble.
where you come from, number one. And that's where I think that was a lesson he was also teaching me. And now too, with my daughter, I can even now thinking about this moment I'm sharing, like, I can see that,
Spot. Yeah, because the thing is, like,
Yeah.
and it's not just in general. Like I told somebody about this the other day. I serve people all the time coffee, right? There's a point when I look in certain men's eyes that are of age, 60 plus, 70 plus, and you can see at one point that they used to be me or a woman who used to be another person, and they had this idea of life and what it was going to turn out to be for them. And
Yeah.
now they were 60 or 70 and the world didn't turn out the way they wanted it. And now everybody just kind of is like, shut up, old person. And in my head,
Hey,
I always try to tell
We're never
people,
old.
well, this
Never
the thing
old.
is, it's not directly said, but it's done in other ways as people treat people. It's just the way the world works because people have not changed as much as
Well, even maybe this we can tie your boy Cody in here on this. I actually do have a question for him that can tie in with age. You know, hey, like Pops, like, hey, what's up, Pops? So you bicycle.
Yes.
I heard bicycle, so I see a speed shop, or so what exactly is it, like track BMX?
Yeah. So we ride track bikes.
Yeah.
We also ride road bikes. We ride all types of bikes, mountain bikes, anything.
If I could ask you just one more thing to get you in on this question. So something like that with age. I used to do vintage motocross, you know, so I used to relate with a lot of old heads. I know BMX, especially in the 80s, early 90s, was like, that's when things were like popping, you know?
Yeah.
Do you also see a lot of guys who kind of come back? Like, is it like all ages? Like, you got 8 years old all the way up to, you know, 60 or whatever it may be.
Yeah, no. The community racing brings together all ages, and that's the beauty of cycling. You know? And the way I picked up a bicycle, I was 15 years old, and I was catching the bus home from school, and I got jumped at the bus stop waiting for the bus.
You got your bike taken?
No, I didn't even have a bike. I was walking home. I'm waiting for the bus. I had to take 2 buses home.
Okay, I mean, it just seems like, you know, your bike. I was like, what you got your bike, Jack?
Yeah,
like,
so,
all right, I'll run the story, though.
Yeah, so I was standing on the corner. 2 guys pulled up. They got out the car, and they roughed me up and took my stuff. And I went home, and I talked to my mom, and I said, hey, Mom, can I get a bike? I don't really want to wait for the bus anymore. And after that, I never waited for the bus ever again. I rode my bike, and it changed my life. Not too long after that, I rode to downtown, and I stumbled upon Will's shop, and that's how we became friends. And cycling introduced me to so many people.
So you became friends like after that certain moment when you were 15?
Yeah.
Okay, so I take it you're...
I'm 29 now.
Disclose age here, but
yeah, no, it's okay.
So that's awesome, though. So Will, let's tie back over here to you really quick. So in that moment, what was kind of like, what transpired from that when you ran into him? Was it a...
Cody?
Yeah, was it an opportunity?
Cody showed up with some of the kids that had already been coming around me for like 10 years before that.
Oh.
And like all the bike riders would always show up because I used to be a bike rider. And then like he showed up and he had like a promising future racing. And like he kept going, and then I tried to warn him. I told him, I was like, there's this thing about life. It don't like you. And it's killing you every moment. So good luck and be careful. Don't put your eggs in one basket.
Let's go.
He got into an accident.
Oh.
In his racing career.
BMX accident?
No.
Or
track bikes.
Track
skier, single speed, no brakes.
Wow.
On a closed
I can
course
tell
or
right now
street
how
course.
you're even describing this to me. You're very like passionate. Because I will say, like, I also used to ride BMX as a child, all the way, like, trust me, I had a life-changing experience recently, kind of where, you know, spiritual energy, and after that, the first thing I said, bro, was, I want to ride my bike.
Yep.
And that was something, like, straight up where I was going through something, and I just had this moment where I kind of was like, I'm trying to become who I used to be, but not who I was recently.
Wow.
I mean...
You know, and the power, though, of a bike, though, and I'm just trying to refer, like, I can see right now, you're like, yeah, you know, like, emotionally, like, the body language, how it affected you.
He'd still be pushing, man. He's still...
No, but it, like, how it changed, though, his whole mindset, though.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
no, trust me. But I see him now, I'm like, I'm going up the mountain, going up to Griffith, I'm like...
Yeah, but Cody, continue with the story, man. I want to hear the end of this.
Yeah, so I was 15. I was catching the bus home from school. I was in, like, 8th grade. And I skateboarded. I love to play video games just like every regular kid. And I was just on my way home. 2 guys roughed me up. I went home, talked to my mom, and she said, okay, we'll save up some money, we'll get you a bike. And a couple months later, saved up some money, went and got my first fixed gear bike from Palm Cycle. And it's not there anymore, but shout out Palm Cycle. And yeah, I got an SE Draft Light. It was red, and it was pretty cool. A little heavy beater bike. And the first ride I went to was the Wolfpack Hustle Marathon Crash Race. I went with my ceramics teacher, Mr. Wisner, and one of my friends, Frankie, from high school. And after that, I got to be exposed to the nightlife cycling scene and how people could be competitive and still have camaraderie and show respect. And it was a beautiful thing.
And if you don't mind me asking, too, before we go into break here really quick. Before we go into break, what is it, because I've learned, too, even, I've kind of gotten into the bike life of LA, but the motorcycle aspect. I've kind of met some of the bigger guys, Wes Grown and the Soul Assassin guys and all them who are involved.
Rez at Litco is a huge proponent.
Well, I was going to say,
life.
like, with bike life, you know, obviously, this is my thing with a bike. When I think of a bike, I think of a bicycle.
Not a motocross.
I don't mind. It's fine because I respect culture, but all of a sudden, I feel like all of a sudden everyone started calling a motorcycle a bike.
Bike culture is one of those
Just
things
two
where it's
wheels?
like-
Two-wheel gang,
Yeah,
two-wheel
it's just
gang.
like it.
Shout out Block Boy.
I feel like every bike rider, I know so many different industry people and like goons and people that they all at one point were having to fix or cycling or gear or whatever, and then it became a thing because like you fall into it, right? And then most motorcycle riders at one point, a lot of them rode a fixed gear or they rode a road bike or something, two wheels, and it's just.
It's a mutual respect.
And a fixed gear is the one that keeps spinning.
Yes.
Okay,
correct.
so I've only ridden one of those once, and it was an old, like, 60s Swim.
It's amazing.
But
Yeah.
I was like, trust me, I almost like, I was told, yo, put your hand down there. I almost literally got my hand caught up in that back spot. I was so
no.
close. My boy had me.
Did you ever
but-
rip the bear claws?
The bear
Yeah, the
claws?
pedals.
Yeah,
I
I have
used
scars
to-
on my shins from those.